Lighthouses. We're all familiar with them. These towering structures line coastal areas around the world, providing navigational aid for ships at sea, especially during low visibility conditions, such as fog or nighttime.
So what the heck is this lighthouse doing out here in the middle of the desert?
Find out as we explore the Desert Lighthouse of Hinckley, California. I'm Bethany, and that's Drew.
I mean, we've got to be like 100 miles inland.
Welcome to Oddity Odysseys. Today we're in the small town of Hinckley, which you may recognize if you've ever seen the movie Aaron Brockovich.
Right, that movie recounts the true story of how Pacific Gas and Electric was dumping toxic chemicals into Hinckley's water supply, and it was causing a lot of cancers and other illnesses in the 1990s.
Understandably, a lot of people left after that, so Hinckley is now mostly a ghost town.
Right, but today we are in search of what's become kind of a symbol of hope for the town of Hinckley, a lighthouse perched atop a nearby hillside.
From Interstate 15 just west of Barstow, California, we'll take Route 58 west toward Bakersfield. In 8.5 miles, we'll exit at Hinckley Road and turn right. After about a mile, we'll cross some railroad tracks and turn left on Santa Fe Avenue. Santa Fe eventually becomes unpaved, and at this point, if we can somehow navigate the dirt road successfully, this should take us to our closest approach to the lighthouse.
And I think I see it up there.
It looks like a telephone pole. You sure that's a lighthouse?
It's still quite a ways away, but I think it'll look less like a telephone pole once we get up there. So the road becomes less paved as we get closer.
There are no street signs to the lighthouse, correct? We're just trying to follow
Yeah, I don't think so.
this road.
So is that the term?
But no, it looks pretty narrow.
All right, I'm gonna try this one.
We'll see where this takes us.
If we get lost, we'll just...
Follow the light.
Yes,
Right? That's how it
exactly. It's been under repairs for the last few months, and I don't know if the repairs are complete. If they have been complete, it should light up this evening sometime.
Don't want to get a flat tire out here either.
Or stuck in the sand. Fortunately, we're going uphill, so if we get stuck, we can hopefully roll back. Hang on. I mean, we're definitely within hiking distance now, so... Oh boy.
This is not okay.
This is a lot more treacherous than I expected. Well, I promised you an adventure. I still know how to show a lady a good time. I'm calling it. E-brake.
So the lighthouse we're about to see was constructed by artist Daniel Hawkins. The idea arose when Daniel was driving through the desert at night and began to feel lost in a dark void. He wanted to create something that would serve as a landmark for travelers passing through the California desert. So Hawkins worked exclusively with local contractors to construct this 50-foot tall building. And on July 1st, 2017, it opened to the public.
It's taller than it looks from a distance.
Definitely no trespassing, though.
Yeah, they got cameras and everything.
I'm kind of glad it's protected to some extent.
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
It took Hawkins about 10 years to complete the tower, but most of that time was spent in paperwork hell, trying to get the right permits and government fees lined up. The actual construction process only took 3 months.
That seems pretty fast.
Yeah, well, they'd meant to do it in 1 month, but they ran into some problems with weather conditions.
Out here in the desert, never.
Believe it or not. The frame of the lighthouse is made of steel, and it's covered with semi-translucent polycarbonate panels. The lights inside are solar-powered LED Fresnels.
Some people thought Hawkins was crazy for trying to build this. I mean, a lighthouse in the middle of the desert. I can see where the question marks would come in. But a lot of people who worked on it were really excited to work on it, and it's become kind of a source of pride for the local community.
Totally. If there were an ocean here, this would actually be a pretty useful lighthouse for maritime traffic passing through.
Yeah, and it's almost like you're in an ocean of desert instead of a sea. And now what, we just sit out here and wait for it to turn dark?
That's the plan.
We have 1 bottle of water.
We'll be fine.
And we'll be fine. It's only, oh, I don't even have my watch. Only 5 hours until dusk. We'll be okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Just before heading back down the hill, a silver pickup truck arrived and out stepped an unexpected visitor.
All right, we were about to take a break for the day and go get some lunch and come back and finish filming. This is a fun true story. We'll talk about this more later. But we ran into this gentleman over here who happens to be the one and only
Daniel Hawkins, keeper of the Hinckley Light.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, who would have thought? This
the
is
artist himself.
random. He just happens to be up here for some maintenance, and so we're very excited to kind of get this exclusive look. It is fenced off, closed off, so you cannot come in here unless Daniel here has the keys, right?
Yep.
All right.
And today, I guess technically would be the final last renovation. We've been doing renovations for about a year, and we're just doing the last little bits today. And tonight it's going to be shining in its full glory, hopefully. Yeah.
That's exciting.
We made it as hard as we could to get in here. So even with the keys, it's a challenge.
It's tricky.
Exactly.
So we're gonna get a look inside the Desert Lighthouse, which is insane. I never imagined I'd be going inside of this thing.
It's gonna be toasty.
Okay, can't wait. Oh my gosh, we are inside the Desert Lighthouse. What are we gonna see when we go up there?
Well, right now we're 20 feet up in the air, and
Yes, we are.
the obvious feature is this observation deck. This is brand new.
Really?
So-
Oh my gosh, an exclusive first-time view from the observation deck.
This used to just, you'd have no view. It was just this frosted.
Yeah.
So when we were doing the renovations, I thought, this is for now on an observation deck, and it's 360 view.
Goes
You
all the
get
way
to
around.
Look out west, east.
So we're 20 feet up, as you mentioned. We can go a ways further.
We can
it
go
looks like.
even higher. So the lighthouse is just a hair shy of 50 feet.
Okay.
We basically are operating in 10-foot elevations.
Yeah.
This is the first platform though at 20 feet. We have what I call like the kind of operator's room at 30 feet where we'll bring down the beacon, do any general maintenance on it.
Okay.
And then above that, you can climb up into the beacon housing. Obviously, when the beacon's not there, it's even easier. And then there's a maintenance door and everything. So we should go up.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a greenhouse effect in here, which
is.
most people don't get to experience.
It's a little warm.
It's a little warm. But the moment you get into where the light is, where the beacon is, and right now we have it down for maintenance, it cools down to ambient temperature.
Oh, cool.
So if you need to cool down, you actually go up, which is counterintuitive, but
Up we go.
go. All right.
Come on up.
I do have a fear of heights, but today is just about testing the waters and doing what you gotta do.
And you know, you've overcome your fear of heights on numerous occasions.
At least now I feel more secure with these bars.
Yeah.
But I do have to ask, what was it about this patch of land that made you want to build the lighthouse here?
Came out of a really intense experience that I had out in the desert at night. I attribute it actually to a sleep deprivation hallucination where I was driving across most of the entire country, and I reached the high desert at night and had all these visions about the lighthouse.
It
and
affects you. It really does.
it affects you in huge ways. So this was the general area in which I had that experience. So I knew that as a starting point. And then it was a matter of I knew I wanted to be up on a hill. It just felt like at a really interesting cross section of the Hinckley disaster, the militarized airspace, the Interstate 15 corridor, and then of course my own personal experience. And so I just thought like it was, you know, one of those diagrams where there's
piece.
yeah, it was like there's basically very few spots that landed in the center, and I found this parcel.
And here we are,
And here we are.
climbing up the lighthouse that Daniel built.
Many insane years later, which
Wow.
almost 20 years
long
now.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that with lighthouses, in my experience, they just make you feel safe.
Yeah.
You just feel like someone's kind of watching out for you. When you see one lit in the distance, you kind of know you're not alone. There's someone out there in case I feel lost. Like there's just something that's very comforting,
Yep.
I think, about a lighthouse. So the fact that it's here in the desert, which is kind of barren and desolate, it gave us a really good feeling to kind of drive up and see it. And I can't wait to see what happens at nighttime.
And people do sometimes interpret lighthouses as warning, you know, warning of rocks, a warning of a
true,
boundary. But generally the community has seen it as I've proposed it, which is like the cheesy tagline, beacon of hope.
Right. I mean,
Sort of.
this will probably continue that for years to come. People
Hopefully.
just kind of visiting
Yeah.
and forming their own relationship with it.
Yeah.
Speaking of forming relationships, I see a bird's nest up here, and I think they've
Do you wanna
created their
take a-
relationship.
They
with the
have,
lighthouse.
yeah.
I'm gonna take a peek at these birds here. Wow, it's like air conditioned up here.
Yeah, doesn't it feel nice?
The eggs are so beautiful.
there's
they're
eggs
like
in
a
it?
Turquoise color almost. It's just crazy to see what they built from just sticks and trash in the desert. They built this whole little nest.
Oh, they find the strangest stuff.
I am now inside the beacon of the Desert Lighthouse. This is absolutely incredible. I wouldn't be able to be here right now if the beacon was functioning. They've taken it down for repairs. But man, what a view.
So later this evening, if all goes well, right above your head will be the beacon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for the tour.
Of course.
Amazing to see inside. We never thought we'd be able to. I had one more quick question I wanted to ask you. I was flying the drone around earlier, and I noticed there's an interesting ornament on the very top.
Oh, yes.
That looks suspiciously like a smaller version of the lighthouse itself. Is that the case?
That is absolutely the case. Yeah, I call it the capstone. And I had different intentions for it when I was building it, where I thought like, oh, this would be a really cool lightning rod. But I thought like, wouldn't it be so perverse to have like a miniature of the lighthouse? And it looks really nice.
Yeah.
And then the capstone has its own little capstone.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah,
so there's a mini one on top of the mini one?
There's a mini one on top of the mini one.
I mean, who knows? This could be the capstone of another much larger desert lighthouse that we're standing on top of. Well, thank you again, Daniel Hawkins, the artist and creator of the Desert Lighthouse. Thank you so much for the tour.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing meeting you. All right, so now we just need to see it completely lit up. So we're gonna go away and come back this evening.
That's pretty neat. It really is a beacon of light.
Well, we can always find our way back here as long as that's lit.
True. The beacon has, I think, 3 light fixtures going around. It's not just one, it's 1, 2, 3, it looks like. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Whether navigating the desolate highways or finding clarity in the uncertain times we live in, the Desert Lighthouse continues to serve as a beacon of hope, offering direction and reassurance, or perhaps even warning travelers of the toxic chemical exodus that occurred here 30 years ago.
Well, I guess it does fit the typical purposes of a lighthouse after all.
Yes, ships lost at sea aren't the only things that get lost in the dark.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button so you can be notified when we release new adventures.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
So much fun rolling backwards down a dirt hill. So much fun. Yeah!
Just to have the wine back there.
We will need it.
If we end up getting stuck up here overnight.